right. Greetings all. Welcome to the new channel, Dorsey's Resource 873. Welcome all to the new channel. I appreciate you all that have stayed loyal to Dorsey's Resource, that continue to rock with me. I want to first of all give a big shout out to you. Once again, you are greatly appreciated. All my subscribers that have been diligently and waiting patiently when I haven't done a video in a while. You guys know what happened to my other channel. So I wanted to give you guys an update. I had a lot of content prepared for you all. I have to build the momentum back up and things. I spoke to one of my private sources recently, actually several of my private sources. One in particular, by the way, that shed some more light and kind of got on myself because there's some things I probably won't go into details. I'm kind of in a similar boat as some of you all, where I may procrastinate in certain areas, certain things I hadn't done yet that I should have done a long time ago. But just to FYI, the topic of this video, I plan on discussing what's happening with the GCR, should be a question mark, prosperity programs, banking changeover, question mark. Once again, the topic of this video is going to be what's happening with the GCR. That's an acronym for Global Currency Reset. Not to be confused with the Great Reset with Klaus Schwab. That's something more sinister and evil. But the title of this video is what's happening with the GCR prosperity programs, banking changeover. I kind of wanted to discuss my weighing in my opinion. These are my opinions. As usual, before we get started, I'm going to give a disclaimer. This video is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her homework and research regarding the matter being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. In any event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged that you do so at one's own leisure. Once again, this is not tax, financial, securities, or any of that. It is up to you to seek a professional at your own leisure. Dorsey's Resource is not responsible or liable for anyone's misuse of any of the information being discussed. Everyone is responsible for their own commercial affairs. With that being said, all rights are reserved. Now, getting into the topic, I wanted to discuss what's happening with the GCR. I was speaking to one of my private sources, and he reminded me that a lot of things have changed throughout the years. Some things I might get to, some I may not. I am working with a limited amount of time, but as always, there can be a continuation of this topic. I may not be able to go over everything, but I do have some notes prepared. I was informed one of my private sources was relaying Bitcoin. By the way, it's a government operation, and you might wonder, well, Dorsey, why are you bringing up Bitcoin? What does it have to do with the global currency reset? Well, you guys may have heard about another particular, what they call alternative coin or altcoin called XRP. And there's some others, by the way, that have been chosen or selected by the elite, by the way. And this information, for those out there, some may receive it, some may not. I know there's ones out there that don't like it. I remember years ago when people discuss XRP, they say, oh, that's a banker's coin. That's cabal. They knew that. Yes, they were correct. And there's some people that didn't want to get involved, didn't want to hold that coin because of such. But there was some things shared with me that you have a once in a lifetime opportunity to take advantage of that you may never receive or get again, if you catch what I'm saying. And this even goes for myself. Certain things that I hadn't done yet that I was supposed to have done from what one of my sources was harping on. And I kind of knew this, and I said, I have to pray about it, because this is all overwhelming, even for someone like me. Even though when I send you guys information, it may sound like I'm excited, yes, in regards to certain things, but when I present this information to you all, this information can be heavily overwhelming, because this is some real things that are happening behind the scenes. that much of the general public is not aware of. And we were supposed to, I felt in my heart, get funded a long time ago from something else before they changed everything around and forced us to wait. We were supposed to get paid out years ago, but it got decided that the people who are controlling this behind the curtain, I was informed, they want everything to go at once because they don't want people being able to double dip. There's also a holdup that had been ongoing arrests. I heard that that's pretty much, they've got to a significant point. There may still be ongoing, but that's pretty much, I won't say wrapped up, but they've got a significant, they feel comfortable where they had a significant portion because they didn't want it had been decided when I was listening to a call years ago, a guy that I know that was married, who still stays in touch with me, literally contacts me once in every blue moon and has been in touch with me for a very long time. I spoke to not too long ago. This is somebody completely separate. Sent, informed me about a call or a website called Midnight Think Tank from years ago. Is no longer, I think, online anymore. And they had a call they used to host. There was some other conference calls. It was called Thing One and Thing Two, where I believe these people from the private sector who were behind the curtain, that know about that this rollout, they're working on this operation behind the scenes. They didn't want to reveal themselves. Had mentioned that they didn't want certain individuals with in the cabal world or real high up, people with certain individuals with high net worth. They were going to be monitoring because they're tracking not only those people but everybody all the way to the bottom. By the way, I forgot that someone I used to listen to mentioned years ago. I haven't listened to this person's call in a long time. They used to mention they kept track years ago of how many people actually held dinars, by the way. And they still, I can imagine, they still do. They do keep track of how many people hold dinars. Keep in mind that this individual mentioned there was a lot of alphabet agencies that would listen to these calls. Best believe that they do monitor these conference calls years ago. And currently these public platforms, by the way, I was also informed, I've been aware of for quite a while, that's even your cell phones, even though some people don't believe it, they say, ah, ha, 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 that's silly. No, I've heard, if you remember, Eric Snowden came out as a whistleblower for the NSA and even went as far as to say, even throw former President Obama's name out there and say Obama actually ordered them to do it. And remember, Eric Snowden escaped, left the country, and was in Russia for a while to gain asylum. Now, I don't remember or know what's currently happened if he got asylum or was free like Julian Assange or whatever. Recently, this stuff gets really deep. But Eric Snowden was a major whistleblower and had even went as far as to mention, this is public information. Many of you all may have forgot, and I'm not trying to get political. I'm not personally a registered voter. I could care less in one sense about politics, yet do feel some things are important. I was last registered as a Democrat back in 2004. Since been canceled. I don't have any plans on voting in the near future. There's very legitimate reasons behind that. That's neither here nor there. I won't go into the details as to the reason why, but to stay on track with the topic, Eric Snowden mentioned Obama had ordered the NSA to illegally spy on Americans. I saw even a report in Detroit on channel Fox 2 News. Hugh Perkins, a reporter at the time, mentioned it was unconstitutional, was illegal, which I didn't understand, for the U.S. government to illegally spy on U.S. citizens, Americans. I don't understand why they're doing it anyway. Funny, what's the purpose of having a law if you're going to break it? Just a question I have, and we're a nation of laws, but there's people that feel, there's politicians that work directly for the cabal. If you read in between the lines, they circumvent the rule of law, unilaterally bypass. We're a nation of laws. We have rules. We have guidelines, but there's some people, politicians, that feel they are above the law and they can do anything that they want because they have the cabal people, the deep state, the Illuminati, the ruling class elite, deeply in their pocket, by their side. That's why they feel some of them, many of them, I should say, can get away with corruption. That's a form of public corruption, like individuals that illegally spy on Trump's campaign. It was a multiple of operations. They got in no trouble, very serious criminal offense, more serious than any of the alleged crimes that they claim accuse Trump of, by the way. I'm just saying, I'm not a registered voter, but just putting this out there that the individuals that illegally spied, you had individuals responsible for the death of Ambassador Chris Stevens, rest in peace. The Navy SEALs that got killed, military officers that got killed. Also, Muammar Gaddafi. You also had an individual that wiped her email server, highly criminal, highly illegal, which led to 11 CIA officers being murdered in China as they were hacked our system and were monitoring. And these individuals were briefed on these things. Notice I didn't have to mention any names, but this was public information. This was reported on. This already happened. So, fact check. Remember, fact check and Snoops was created to try to so-called debunk the conspiracy theories. But one thing I want to say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There's a such thing as conspiracy realist, conspiracy reality. Conspiracy means individuals can conspire in secret, just like a married couple shares secrets amongst themselves that they won't share publicly out there. Anybody can conspire. That's conspiracy theory is something that's theoretical or has not been proven. So get the context of the words correct when you articulate yourselves, mainstream media, or you're trying to paint a particular group of people, you're trying to target them. And we know that is a form of dealing with the military. Intelligence operations use that, by the way, to target individuals. So it's proper that people do their research, their homework. That's why in my disclaimer, I tell people, do your homework. And I also was able to speak in code without saying names, because some things I've mentioned in reference in the past, but all these were criminal acts, by the way. Remember, James Comey refused to prosecute this individual a week before their election day, even a second press conference he gave. If you remember, that same week, why would he give a second press conference just to say he was not going to because pressure was being placed on him by other good FBI agents who were not part of the cabal, who I found out some mysteriously were killed or ended up dying, mighty mysteriously all of a sudden. So why would you kind of remember, this was public information, guys. Just saying, just putting it out there. If you remember, think back. Why would James Comey do a second press conference within that same week before election day? Just something to think about. Scratch your head and think about the FBI agents at the time, allegedly, who put pressure, and he still refused to do it. But why would these FBI agents put immense pressure on him if there wasn't alleged crimes and very corrupt, egregious criminal activities that had been committed? Well, you see, some people are above the law. Rules for thee, but not for me. Just saying. But, well, let me get back on topic. So you want to know what's happening with the global currency reset. The cabal has also, and I've told you all, where politics does matter, by the way, where this gets political, is Democrats, by the way. Let me see where my notes are. This is a fact. I'm going to go over, I went over New York is another financial capital. It's tied to England. All international wires have to go through New York before they go overseas. I knew about that. There's going to be a changeover with allegedly the SWIFT system, the banks currently use. You have another system overseas that's being already developed. You also have another system dealing with XRP. If you've heard of the XRPL ledger, by the way, and that was some people say that lawsuit they were going through with the SEC is a fight. And what I was going to say about the Democrats happen to be in alignment with the Securities Exchange Commission, by the way. And remember, this is why Republicans generally speaking, are more pro-cryptocurrency versus Democrats. Democrats are pretending, like I heard Kamala Harris is saying she's pro-crypto. Remember, Trump actually came and spoke to a cryptocurrency conference in the South. If you guys remember, some of you all that are pro-crypto, that are in the know, because some of you all I know are millionaires behind the scenes, by the way, or I'm kind of piecing that together. Democrats are trying to pretend to be pro-crypto, because the reason I'm bringing this up, and we don't have a choice, I didn't like it at first some years ago, me, myself, personally, in case you're wondering. Honestly, I used to have issues with Bitcoin. I was mad. I expressed these opinions when that TDA movement broke out in 2017, I was invited to some private calls on the Discord app before a lot of people were using Telegram, when they had conference calls on the Discord app before people were using Telegram and Clubhouse. I was on Discord. I met some of the anonymouses, and some people, they didn't like the opinions I expressed, just to show proof that I was much in alignment. I wasn't a fan of Bitcoin, and I've connected some major pieces after speaking to my private source. And even prior to a video that they sent me from Black Swan's YouTube channel, I had told my private source exactly what was mentioned in the video. And I reminded him, I actually told him that before he sent me this particular video. It's funny how I myself, I'm not trying to brag or, it is for what it is, take credit, but I was able to connect some major pieces with things. And I don't know it all, guys. I'm just, was mentioning when my source kept telling me about this David Schwartz guy, and he told me about this other guy, Dan Pina or Dan Cena, and said a lot of you all, if you knew about David Schwartz, remember my source told me this part a long time ago, you guys wouldn't, want to be involved with Bitcoin, or you guys wouldn't like who David Schwartz was if you guys knew what he was involved with. I don't know, remember this other guy, my source, one of my sources was telling me, I was subscribed to, I haven't, my computer and everything, my PC is not up because I just recently moved, by the way, so I don't have everything up and running right now. So I'm just doing things on my phone. I'm still unpacking, by the way. I really haven't got that far into that, just to be transparent with you all. But I'm just letting you all know, because I know there's older people out there. There's people that didn't like what was going on, but I was told we don't have a choice. The new banking system, there's a fight going on with the cabal, wants us to be on CBDCs, where they want to control it, central bank digital currencies. They want to be able to track all your transactions. They want it tied in an evil, sinister way with the social credit system, whereas the good cabal, the good guys, they have another system. So there may be dual systems, and that's kind of going on. They're in a fight, and I'm hearing allegedly from some things that were given by Penny Kelly and some others. If some of you are familiar with Jason Ford's channel a while ago, or John Claude with Beyond Mystic, his channel, when Jason Ford had discussions, he brought on Cliff High, Penny Kelly, and she even has her own YouTube channel, and he's interviewed her as a guest, and she's a medium or psychic, and she's given her predictions, and they appear to be tie in with some of the things that was shared with what's coming down the pipeline, when she said there appeared to be that the elites or people had access to another banking system, but it was like behind the scenes, that she could see there was some other system operating, but it's like it was invisible. It couldn't be seen. That sounded like the system that XRP is going to be on. By the way, she had given this prediction a while ago and said that Bitcoin was going to go down. It was going to crash, and that people were devastated. And but she saw in this vision that she had that there was going to be basically another currency system that was going to be operating kind of like behind the scenes, if you knew, if you had access to it, by the way. So they kept track of how many people were holding dinars, even certain digital assets. They're going to get away from calling it crypto. They're going to call it digital assets, and certain digital assets, I was informed, are going to be pegged to gold and silver. By the way, there's certain digital assets that is, but that's not going to happen until one of my sources was telling me, when the dust settles and the switchover happens, that's when you're going to see the price of precious metals lose control of the manipulation, where you're going to get into price discovery, where you're going to see big moves from silver and gold. But he said that's not going to happen because, once again, they decided we were supposed to get paid years ago. There's been numerous times, by the way, the dinar by itself was supposed to happen. Almost occurred on numerous occasions. Even at one time, it actually did temporarily, where VIP, very important people, high net worth people. One guy in our group, one of my sources, confirmed with one particular conference call that I listened to when they mentioned it was changed suddenly in the middle of the night. Then it was sent back to its lower rate, but just temporarily. So they exchanged a VIP person because one of the sources, contacts in my group, told me one of the guys that, and I met the guy before, I don't know him, but one of my sources is closer to him. He actually saw it show up years ago on Forex in the middle of the night. He saw it at the high amount or at the amount, a very good amount. And I heard that was just temporarily before they changed it back. This was the dinars, by the way. This was done just temporarily. So they exchanged a VIP person. I don't know who that was, but this corroborated the story that I heard. One of my sources knew a guy, and I've gone into kind of descriptions about him before, where I saw the other guy at a coin show years ago. I got a chance to meet him, and I'll give you a hint. I think this guy, I think he was a pastor, by the way. The same guy that my source mentioned to me. He saw it show up temporarily, and then it went back to the old rate, to like pennies on the dollar, or less than pennies on the dollar. But that they were just did that temporarily, by the way. So they've been keeping track of how many people held dinars. We were supposed to get paid years ago, but it got decided they want everything to go at once because they don't want people double dipping. It's another reason. So they're getting away. So you're going to see the price silver and gold manipulation stop, but that's not going to occur. My source was saying probably until you're going to get indication that things are getting closer, because it appears as though with the price, gold breaking record numbers, hitting record highs, silver at higher amounts than it was previously, by the way. But what's really going to be indication is when you see them lose control, that's indication that the reset, which appears to be, and I was also told it's things happening behind the scenes, that slowly but surely it's unfolding now. That there's certain people, banks, people that are in the know that things are actually happening behind the curtain. By the way, that's actually taking place simultaneously, even though it hasn't. I know people say we're close. We've been hearing that. People like, yeah, and I just put it on the back burner. I don't even get excited no more. To be honest with y'all, I could care. That's why I haven't done any videos, and I don't even title the videos. The dinar, I don't even do that. But this is all tied in. So Trump spoke at a cryptocurrency conference. He's more so pro-crypto. Democrats, keep in mind, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to get political. They're trying to pretend to be crypto to get more votes, yet they're trying to conceal their true intentions. They're heavily for regulations, just like their censorship. Democrats are trying to pretend to be pro-crypto to get more votes, yet they are trying to conceal their true intentions. They're heavily for regulations, just like they're heavily involved in censorship agenda. And that's been proven. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court, one of the Supreme Court rulings they made did not go in favor of the so-called conspiracy theorists of people fighting for freedom of speech, even though a previous court, a federal judge, had found the Biden-Harris administration guilty of violating laws and election meddling. They found, by the way, of targeting platforms like Twitter and others to target innocent Americans that did not speak favorably of them, that had YouTube channels or vlogs, and things that were targeted or that were pro-Trump. Their rights were violated. A lower federal court did find the Biden administration guilty, even went as far as to ask them to stop. So it went all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, I don't know if the Supreme Court, there was another case dealing with freedom of speech. I don't know if that has been ruled on as of yet. I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're supposed to be hearing another case. And one individual said, well, maybe that case could go in favor of the freedom of speech people, because this is tied in. If you want to see TikTok, stick around, because one of the reasons people believe they wanted to take TikTok down, because it's not as heavily regulated like Instagram or some of the other platforms. And a lot of people are getting very good snippets of good information on there, from truth tellers and things. So just keep in mind, I'm not trying to get political, because I understand people always say, well, Dorsey, both sides are corrupt. But yes, I do get that. They've infiltrated, but at least the Republican Party, they started something called the Freedom Caucus. The liberals, Democrats, they don't have anything like that, that's trying to restore honesty, integrity within government. Remember, with liberalism ideology, anything goes. Liberals are for anything with their ideology. They don't stand up. When they stand up against their own, they get canceled, because Democrats heavily support cancel culture. They were behind it, even though they preach tolerance and loving, but they're not loving and kind and tolerant themselves. They're actually intolerant. By the way, they won't even allow you when you even share your opinion. And that's forms of communism and socialism that ideology is moving to. Republicans have their issues, but they're not that extreme in that particular regard. So Democrats are more so against freedom of speech. They're more so for censorship. They want regulations. They're allies with Gary Gensler. So if you're pro crypto, if you do vote, you want to support Trump. He's more pro crypto, and that's going to be part of the new banking system. If you read between the lines, you have a chance to become wealthy. By the way, if you are in the know and you know what's going to happen with XRP, that's all I'm gonna leave it at. And you know what to properly do with cold storage and everything like that, then you will get right on board. Because Kamala Harris, I'm just saying, is pretending to be pro crypto, and actually she's not. Politics aside, I don't, like I said, I'm not trying to be political, but I mean, I don't have a problem with Kamala Harris. I mean, to me, I know people argue whether she's black or not. To me, she's a beautiful woman. I wouldn't mind seeing a female president, but I just don't agree with her policies. By the way, when you just look at the between each side, I know this is a tough subject. Everybody has their own opinions, but I just lean more to the right in terms of policy wise. I think the Democrat policies have hindered us, black people, minorities, me considering myself a man of color, melanated man. I think Biden, their policies have hindered. I think, I'm for public safety. One of the things, I'm more pro-life. I know there are exceptions to the rules. Like if I was in charge of it, I wouldn't punish doctors and things of that sort. And I would make it immediate if a woman's life was in danger, that she could get surgery right away and access to, to save her life. If the baby was already there, I would make exceptions like that. But it's not a one size fits all formula if I was in charge of that. But I'm more so when it comes to that particular issue. I don't consider that to be one sided. That's why politics is dirty. They force you to have to pick a side, even with particular issues. You have to be, it seems like one way or all across the board. But one in particular, I am for public safety, for strong border protection. If you know what's going on, I didn't like the fact that Biden, and this was public information, Biden-Harris administration had passed reparations for illegal immigrants. Yes, this did happen. I told my relative, because I didn't know this at the time, who had told me that they had showed me a receipt that illegal immigrant had for like $14,000 cash assistance and then food stamps. And here is my own people, Black Americans, a lot of them have been struggling and never received any form of reparations. And all this money was going to Israel, billions of dollars to Ukraine, money for Palestine. And I'm against war. I'm for peace. If you want to know, I'm not for genocide. I'm for peace, by the way. Just keep that in mind. So if I was registered, I've always said I'd be maybe libertarian, independent, but not for sure moderate conservative. You've got other basically political parties, but generally they're boxed down to two categories. You're forced to choose, pick a Democrat or Republican. But if I was, then I would be along the lines of maybe independent, moderate conservative, or libertarian. But I'm for peace. I'm more so pro-life. By the way, I lean to the right, and I'm for public safety of our American. That means I'm for pro-borders, public international policy. I'm for a strong president that can stand up to other presidents that will protect this nation. By the way, and I feel Trump would do a better job of that. By the way, and I feel looking at his policies, he was removing the troops out of wars. And when Obama took office, I remember former Governor Jesse Ventura criticized Obama for caving in and actually putting us in more wars. By the way, if you look at his policies, by the way, just be honest. But I'm not political. I'm not trying to get political, but I'm just saying but Trump is more pro crypto. He spoke at a crypto conference. So if you do vote, if you are registered, I'm just saying a suggestion. That's who I would vote for, because I'm also more so pro crypto, and I don't think Kamala. I think they're just trying to pretend. One of my sources told me privately, Democrats and Kamala Harris are pretending to be pro crypto because they're trying to get votes, just like she's saying things, stealing things that certain policies that Trump was going to do, because Democrats are actually heavily for crypto regulations, just like they are for censorship. Don't let this smooth taste fool you. Democrats have done things already. And if you go to the channel Black Conservative, Young Black Conservative, by the way, the young guy, one of the guys has been censored. He actually shows the evidence. Normally, YouTubers don't shout out other channels because people are in competition with one another. But this to show you how I'm honest. I do my research despite what people feel. But I'll give you credible information. Go to Young Black Conservative. I think that's the name of his channel, something like that. By the way, he appears to be a younger guy. There was an older guy who was censored, who's now on Rumble. But the younger guy, he wears a baseball cap a lot. He does really good videos. He did a video and showed that Biden and Kamala actually had passed a policy that actually hurt the middle class. And he went in and showed the evidence. And specifically, because a lot of times people accuse Trump of this, they don't show receipts, or they'll say this, that, and the other. And I'm big on that. And I do look at both sides of the aisle, but he actually went in and showed what Biden had voted on as something that him and Kamala had passed. And actually he broke it down and showed the proof. That's what I like about these other channels. So it's going to be harder for between a lot of the election ads that you see that's false and misleading. I get to the meat and potatoes, people that I look at, good content creators that know the truth. And you look at your gas prices have gone up, inflation, rents across the country have skyrocketed since Biden and Harris took over. By the way, they said after the pandemic, after the moratorium, when Biden and Kamala, rents have skyrocketed, have continued to jump up. I remember people complaining about the gas prices, and I remember people were warning them. And I remember before Trump left office, by the way, I happened to catch one of his rallies. He mentioned he had done something to make the gas prices cheaper. And he physically said this at one of his rallies I had caught. I think it was the one that rapper Lil Pump had showed up at. I only caught a little bit of it. I said, wow, he did something. And what my friend broke down to me, he was making us more energy efficient. See, Democrats, they're tied in with the New World Order, the one world government, the World Economic Forum. They want to shut down natural energy, coal mine. They want to push this green movement. There's an agenda behind that. Not saying you should waste energy and resources, but Democrats, they're deceitful. They're shutting down coal mines, pipelines. So Trump, remember, he was for the Keystone Pipeline. So things like that keep your gas prices cheaper. They help us more energy efficient. One of the reasons you're seeing hikes in energy when you don't have the places where electricity and stuff, the hubs and stuff get shut down, that causes your prices and stuff to go up, if you get what I mean. Hold on real quick, guys. I'll be back. So to break this down, and what I'm going into is, this is where things get complex. It's part of political science. But the World Economic Forum is directly, in case you don't know, they're more heavily tied in. I know both parties have been infiltrated, because you have rhinos that are Republican in name only, that are in the closet Democrats or neoconservatives. You have to ask the question how all of a sudden after Bush left office, he's closer to Obama, but Trump is supposed to be a Republican, but they all hate him. Guys got to think that's a coincidence. Why? Because Bush was part of the cabal, the criminal deep state. Just saying, just putting it out there. So this is not just somebody that sounds like he's trying to attack a black man or another black man or black women, because some people try to play the race card even within our own race and try to say, oh, Dorsey, quit hating on, fellow black man. I mean, there's things I was proud to see Obama as a black man or someone of color being a president. I could say positive things about him, but I just like I said about Kamala, I didn't agree with his policies. And I also don't like the fact personally, I feel he did not pass reparations for black people, melanated people, people of color in this country. And that didn't sit well with me. And I know Dr. Claude Anderson, who actually worked on past legislation for affirmative action years ago, because when Martin Luther King was doing the best that he could and passed the Civil Rights Act, I was informed that put a Band-Aid on things and that didn't repair the damage, but Martin Luther King was trying to do the best that he could at the time. If you understand from a black American perspective, by the way, to go into some of the history, because I had one of my former coworkers calls me up and was amazed at how I was breaking this history down. And there was historians, they made us, YouTube censored a lot of these videos and removed them when Martin Luther King had just won the Nobel Peace Prize. This was about a little over a decade before I was born. After he started speaking against the Vietnam War, Martin Luther King started speaking about redistribution of wealth, 40 acres and a mule. If you know the history, the period of Reconstruction that was tied in with reparations, with the South feared that after the slaves were freed, that blacks would retaliate, which they did not. So they put things in place. They passed Jim Crow laws and black codes to economically suppress black Americans economically, where white Americans back during this particular early 1900s were able to gain massive amounts of wealth. The farmers that were allies and abolitionists, some of them that were allies with black Americans, abandoned them and took on their own struggle. That's why when black Americans have helped out other groups, by the way, historically, all throughout history, even the Black Panthers back in the 60s, I was looking at a documentary of the people, the Maui people, where Rock is from, his indigenous people, and how what they did to get reparations in their indigenous country from colonialism. And they suggested that black Americans in America follow the blueprint that they have followed to gain better economic power. So I feel, just to be honest, that Trump, that's why, in my opinion, he's the lesser of two evils. Now, some people don't feel like that. They feel like Kamala, some black Americans feel like Kamala is the lesser of two evils. But I beg to differ. I know the history. I'm very well studied to a degree. Booker T. Washington was a Republican. Frederick Douglass was a Republican. They were abolitionists that fought to end slavery. Remember, abolitionists helped fight to free us. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. Despite all this other stuff they said, he signed the Emancipation Proclamation that freed us. There was a period where they were supposed to working on giving us the 40 acres and a mule. And there was a period we did working on for a while, but that was sabotaged going into the early 1900s when the black codes and Jim Crow laws, which were created by the Democratic Party, by the way, covered a lot of the these was because the Kennedys, they felt John and Robert who were of Irish descent, God rest their soul, were looking out more so for black Americans. It's not that black Americans felt they were still the white man. They felt they trusted them more so because they were looking out for the interests. So that's why a lot of black Americans jumped on the bandwagon, but it was meant to help black people as a whole. It was not meant to where it turned into today. Also, historically, to show you how well studied I am in political science, this doesn't get talked about from Roland Martin and many others. Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was Kennedy's vice president, voted against the civil rights legislation twice before he passed it. They only passed it after Kennedy was murdered. They did that to honor him. But Lyndon Baines Johnson was the equivalent of the deep state. He was with the criminal cabal. The Warren Commission, which was comprised of Freemasons, Freemasonic men, covered up the investigation of Kennedy's assassination. A lot of stuff is declassified. Remember, Trump was trying to declassify all the information and was gotten blowback. And Bush's father was head of the CIA at one time. Remember the Bush Jr. that was in office before Obama? His father was part of the CIA and was connected to that and was behind the scenes. They don't want you to know that his name was redacted and the classified, because remember, the government classifies and declassifies information. So remember how the FBI put out a report some years ago and they tried to debunk conspiracy theorists, but they gave you a way out. They said that not all conspiracies are actually conspiracies. See, I read the article, but I always look for the where they tell you, they give you a little bit of truth or have to tell you the truth. And I said, yup, see that right there, they admitted. They said not all conspiracies, so-called conspiracy theories, are conspiracies. And I said, interesting. So they have to admit to you, but they don't break it down how I'm breaking it down to you. Some information is classified, some is declassified after so many years. And presidents can pass executive orders. And Obama also passed things to keep the information covered up. That shows you when they're part of the criminal cabal, the deep state. That's how you know who's part of the bad guys, because they're passing executive orders to continue to cover up, to not declassify the information. So it's no longer, it's the public records or FOIA requests are not allowed to keep it concealed. You guys get it? You see? So if you're keeping information covered up, that's not allowing people to see. You know, so I know you guys, the way I broke that down. So once again, Lyndon Baines Johnson, he voted against the Civil Rights Act twice. Martin Luther King was trying to do the best that he could. A historian told me at the time, they'd only put a Band-Aid. He said back in the 60s, that's when they should have actually passed reparations. But Kennedy even, it's allegedly that told, I don't know how true this part is. So this is alleged that he told Martin Luther King that the white people at the time weren't ready for it because it scared white people. I remember I was listening to an Italian guy, Don Mancuso, on a call mentioned some years ago on a trust call that Martin Luther King, during this tumultuous time period, the white people at that time, it scared them. But there was a lot of poor Black Americans. Remember, the South they didn't have the industry like that. Many of the slaves that picked cotton, that's why a lot of Black families migrated to the North for better opportunities, what they call the Rust Belt plant jobs. By the way, to get paid more money for better opportunity. If you know, there's quotes that Malcolm X made where he said the white people up north were different from the white people down south. They would smile in your face but stab you in the back. Where he said what they liked about the people down south is they showed their racism up front. They preferred to have that. That's why I've even heard some liberals say that don't like Trump. They said they like the fact that Trump was honest. He tells you what he's going to do. And they didn't like him, but they said they liked the difference with him versus other people they felt who are racist. I know people have different opinions. They felt Trump was more honest or straight up with what he does. So you see, I look at this as the dynamics behind it's a very complex subject, and the way I'm explaining this, because I know I have diverse listeners, but coming from my own people's perspective, those are my personal opinions. Even though I'm not a registered voter, I have not voted since 2004. I was last registered as a Democrat, and I voted for Kwame Kilpatrick, and that was just the primaries for the local primary. It wasn't the main mayoral election in Detroit, Michigan, back in 2004. And then I found out when I woke up to information and sovereignty and history back then. Thankfully, a sister who was with the Nubian Nation of Moors, and a brother, rest in peace, Bobby L. And the Hebrew Israelite brother Ben David and Ishmael, they woke me up back then at the private meetings I attended. My whole life changed forever, and I appreciate those people as they were acting as activists, but I wouldn't have never come into the knowledge that I have now, not just with this type of information, but learning about how the ruling class, how they use private banking trusts and how they operate in the shadows. My friend calls them the shadow people. I would have never understood that information had those people not woken me up years ago. And I also met a group that told me, they used to say, brother, you won't understand that Moorish stuff unless you understand the history. And I used to scratch my head back then. I used to say, what the heck are these people talking about back then? So I get it all these years later. I get it now. And I used to come to this particular church. It was a different type of church for these meetings on Saturday. This one brother used to teach history going back years ago. It's only a few young people used to come there. Church of the African Consciousness, right in the city of Detroit. And I used to come there and get educated. And I know another historian personally that's been overseas, been to the Asheville Quasi tours, that's toward the pyramids and things, showing me the videotapes that's meticulously showing me his library. I know about the Bible, the Royal Book of Records, who King James was. That was his version of the Bible. You want to look up the Royal Book of Records, the ISBN number. They kept records on that. It gets deep, but I won't go into that. That's neither here nor there. Just showing my knowledge is very well rounded, by the way, that I have in terms of. But that's the reason why I kind of, when I get political, why I do lean more to the right, and to explain to you guys the agenda of the Democratic Party, unfortunately, is very heavily compromised, even though elements of the Republican Party is as well, because I know there's people that say, Dorsey, they're both two heads of the same snake. I always hear that. But at the same time, a friend of mine feels that's also a cop-out, because you need to go into meticulous detail about there is a lesser of two evils or better option between the two. If you're forced to make a choice, in my opinion, I know, like I said, some people feel that Kamala is the lesser of two evils. Some people feel Trump is. One person I spoke to said it looks like no matter who wins this upcoming election, that it's probably going to be riots of people on each side that are going to be very upset because we're a divided nation. But I think there's enough evidence. I've been studying the New World Order. I've been studying the Illuminati for years. And I can tell you with great certainty, 100%, the Democratic Party is very, very heavily tied in with the criminal cabal, the deep state. There's actually a group I found out that's actually identifying who the deep state is, by the way. And it's really deep when you get into who these people are. It's kind of scary. I mentioned some of the names that there's gatekeepers they have. There's minions and underlings they have in key positions of power. But any certain positions that have attorney general, like former attorney general Eric Holder, informed he's one, Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy that took over Secret Service, that was behind Secret Service whistleblowers, had mentioned the guy that was behind this the operation to assassinate Trump. They said this particular, that he was in charge all along, that certain other agents, because I saw the mainstream media is trying to say now that it's a conspiracy theory that that Trump is claiming that his assassination attempt was staged. Yes, it was by bad actors or people. There was people that were trying to kill him. And BlackRock, there's evidence somehow they were connected to some particular group that took out investment or stock. I can't explain it, but the independent media can go into details to make some type of bet that had he been killed, that they had it was tied in, because they don't get along. Larry Fink and BlackRock, who MSNBC reported, by the way, was directly responsible for rents going up across the country. Corporate landlords, they're tied in with the deep state. That's why I was glad when people protested in France, they burned the offices of BlackRock. I love seeing that, because I don't like BlackRock. I don't like what these corporate landlords are doing. And I would tell all Americans who are struggling, I don't particularly, even though he's friends with Trump, Grant Cardone, good friend of mine, was telling me he took these Grant Cardone classes. I don't think these corporate landlords are being fair with people. I think a lot of them are predatory, by the way, and I don't put them in the same category as Trump. By the way, I know people are trying to lump them in the same category, but no. Lester Holt from MSNBC, I actually saw a report done on this, and they specifically accused Larry Fink and associates of BlackRock for being directly responsible for rent costs rising across. It's some other corporate landlords, and they were also raided by the FBI, by the way, that were directly responsible for rents skyrocketing across the country. So I'm just giving my opinion in regards to that. But it's very, very complex, but I get the real information. But the Democrats, I can tell you with great certainty from studying the one world government, the Illuminati, the criminal deep state, criminal global syndicate, Kabbalists, the ruling class, They have minions and underlings, and specifically gatekeepers, by the way, that answer to them. They're heavily tied in with the Democratic Party, with policies with the Green Movement. You need to do research behind David D. Rothschild with the whole they changed the 2020 agenda to 2030. You need to look up who Klaus Schwab is. You need to look up who Yuval Noah Harari that says we no longer need humans anymore. Look up the personal advisor to Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. These people do not have our best interest at heart. They're heavily tied in. They want Kamala Harris. I'm gonna tell you, the deep state wants Kamala Harris in power. I can tell you that. That shows you which side the Illuminati is on a particular side. The globalists. I remember Pastor Lindsey Williams even said before he died, rest in peace, God rest his soul. God bless you, Pastor Lindsey. You're an amazing man. And he told a testimony how he had befriended the elites, some of them some years ago, but they knew about God. Some of them believed in God. He prayed for some of them. He said they had a rule, a code of ethics. This one particular faction of elites, I don't think there's different factions of them. But this one particular faction that's very powerful, he was connected to. He mentioned Atlantic Richfield Oil. There was one guy who died that gave him the information. He was able to mention the name publicly, but he couldn't mention while the guy was alive. His name was Ken Fromm. Ken Fromm. Then he said the other elite reached out to him, but it seems like the other guy didn't give Lindsey as much information. But he says if they could help it, they weren't going to allow Trump to get back in 2020. That's after Trump won his first term. So that was before the 2020 election. He said that Trump may not get back in. He said that prior to the 2020 election. Pastor Lindsey Williams is now deceased. So, folks, I'm very well studied. I'm giving you receipts. If you've been following my channel, my previous channel for a number of years, I'm giving you facts, hardcore receipts that I surpassed fact check at snoops.com. Those were created to cover up what the criminal cabal is doing. Understand, Snoops and fact check, they're connected to the liberal controlled mainstream media, the worldwide corporate media, propagandists. They don't have your best interests at heart. They're created to cover up the so-called conspiracy theorists, the independent media, because they want you, as Klaus Schwab has mentioned, they want you getting your information, your news from, they feel the establishment, established sources from your mainstream media. That's ABC News, NBC News, CBS News, Fox even. They feel like, even though I think Fox is a more truthful in certain regards, they want you getting your mainstream, your corporate media from the mainstream. That's what Klaus Schwab is quoted. He asked the Japanese reporter at one of the Bilderberg meetings, he said, Mr. Schwab, can I have a word with you? And he asked her, he said, are you with the independent media or are you with the mainstream media? And she said, I'm with the independent media. He said, no, thank you. And he walked away with his bodyguards. It shows you he don't want to. He only that's why he asked her that question. Was she with the corporate worldwide mainstream media or was she with the independent media? He told this true story. I saw the video footage from the independent reporters who thank God, risked their life going over there to cover. Each year they have the meetings in a different location worldwide when the Bilderbergers meet secretly. And they are the nighttime version or the secret version of the World Economic Forum based out of Davos, Switzerland. And they summons politicians, major CEOs of corporations, tech giants, people of agriculture, medical industry, you name it, so they can control world leaders. Klaus Schwab has bragged about how he's infiltrated countries with leaders like Justin Trudeau over in Canada, the prime minister in Canada, Emmanuel Macron, the leader over France. There was a woman who was running against Emmanuel Macron that we were for. They said was like a female version of Trump, Marine Le Pen, that she was more so for the people. But Emmanuel Macron is establishment for France. If you keep up with the worldwide prime ministers or leaders, and he's directly connected to the World Economic Forum. So this is how I'm proving the World Economic Forum is behind the New World Order, the Illuminati criminal cabal, criminal syndicate. And this is to give you an example. And they do worldwide political assassinations. They made attempts on world leaders in different countries. Just like recently, they're tied in with Trump's assassination. They have their underlings and minions with the deep state. So I just want to give you guys an idea as I was speaking on what's going on with the global currency reset, the IMF and the Treasury. The IMF, as some of you all know, is involved in the stalling, the holdup. I was even informed by a private banker for a number of years, the U.S. Treasury was a main staller. Somebody high up at the U.S. Treasury was stalling the dinar from taking place. If you guys remember, and that's ironic, one of my sources told me that. One of my sources, it's funny, mentioned that to me. Let's see, okay, here we see. Who's the leader? This guy right here. Okay, Kimberly Cheeto, who stepped down, she was questioned very heavily in regards to Trump's assassination attempt. I know there's been a lot of people that saying it's not that he staged. Why would he stage his own assassination attempt when you have the actor Alec Baldwin, who made a mistake and was shooting a movie and killed a woman and is facing serious allegations and even jail time? Just something to think about. Why would Trump? That was real, folks. He was shot. Part of it grazed his ear. By the grace of God, he's still with us. That was an actual attempt. Despite all the conspiracy theorists and people out there, and the FBI put out a report not too long ago and said that was actually a real attempt. But Secret Service whistleblowers, I was told, said they were ordered to stand down by a guy that's the head of Secret Service named Ronald L. Rowe Jr. That's the name of the guy. I just looked him up. Ronald L. Rowe. And when Kimberly Cheeto, she didn't want to step down at first. Mighty funny that money was real. And she was grilled hard by Marjorie Taylor Greene. It reminds me years ago when some guy was questioned, they said, we don't question, Mr. Kuchikari, that you're working hard. What we question is who you working for. That was one of those moments. So she stepped down after that. She originally refused to step down because that was an inside job. One guy who had showed up to one of Trump's previous rallies said he had saw significantly less Secret Service there. There was people pointing at the guy on the roof. Nothing was done. Folks, that's an inside job. Secret Service prior to events where presidents show up, they're supposed to surveil the whole area. All rooftops have counter sniper teams, all of that. You guys, you idiots, certain idiots out there don't understand that everything's a free. But we know some of you so-called conspiracy theorists are shields, government shields and ops. They are out there. And that's one I'm not. But actual Secret Service whistleblowers, it was mentioned through Band.video, says that after Kimberly Cheeto stepped down, he was in charge already. He stepped back in place. They mentioned that a guy by the name of Ronald L. Rowe Jr. told them to stand down. It's like 20 or 30 minutes. They didn't want to reveal who they were. They were at the rally of the assassination attempt. So this is facts, folks. They were told to stand down, by the way. So it says, effective July 23rd, Ronald L. Rowe Jr. serves as the acting director of the Secret Service. As acting director, he is responsible for successfully executing the agency's integrated mission of protection and invest. And remember, they denied what's Robert Kennedy Jr. Originally when he was running earlier on his request for Secret Service. And that, folks, that was all historically I found out based off of what happened with his father. They put these rules in place, but the criminal deep state up front earlier on in his campaign, when he needed Secret Service protection, they were refusing him protection. And when Trump was even asking for more agents, we knew this, folks, like a year ago, because many people don't follow the independent media. So you guys, some of you all that don't like Trump think it's lies, but we those of us that follow the independent media know what the facts are. No, so that was an actual inside job. I'm going to get to the comments. I see before I take off. Hadrupo Sosa Marquez says, peace, fam. Appreciate you joining. Blanca Lagarda says, hi, Dorsey. Favor upon you, brother. Appreciate you. Hadrupo Sosa Marquez says, make the rules, break the rules. Yes. Ja B says, peace, peace, peace. Thank you for joining. Wednesday Adams says, hi. Appreciate you. All right, appreciate you all. So that right there, folks, is my what I've gone over so far. Basically, my weigh-in, what happened, what took place with the what's going on with the reset. I may have to do a continuation video. I gave my thoughts, my weigh-in earlier. I know I went into some of the political stuff, but I wanted to give you guys an idea because the new digital assets are going to be tied in with the new banking system, cryptos, everything's, the banks I heard are moving over to blockchain. Whether you like it or not, I was told to get prepared. So that's why I brought up the stuff with Bitcoin. That was a government operation. There's some more stuff I might go into later. Thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, you guys take care. Have a good night. Peace.